With the slew of designer fragrances that come out year in and year out, how do you know what's even worth trying? You can get lost in the shuffle with, oh, there's a new this one from this line and new that one from that line. And every year, certain lines are going to have a new flanker. So how do you know what's worth checking out? Well, that's where I come in. These are 10 designer fragrances that, in my opinion, are definitely worth checking out. Some have been around for a while, some are pretty new, but they might all be new to you. So get your nose on them, because you might end up falling in love with them. Let's talk about it. Stay tuned. Starting with what might possibly be the most popular leather fragrance on the market, leather accord anyways, and that would be Tom Ford's Ombre leather. Definitely worth experiencing. This is beautifully masculine while still having some floral touches to it, such as jasmine, a light sweetness. It's a little rough around the edges, but kind of adds that oomph to it, that extra edginess and masculinity that the profile is kind of known for. A little bit of a bad boy type of thing, bomber jacket, leather jacket, but obviously you don't need to wear those to wear this fragrance. They just kind of emit that kind of vibe and that style, if you will. You can dress this one up. You can be on the more casual side with it, but I would say pretty much polo shirt and above is what's going to represent well with this particular fragrance. Definitely worth trying out. It's been copied to death at this point. This is the signature line version of the previous private line that they used to have that was much more expensive. Now, this isn't a super cheap fragrance by any means. You're going to pay $100 plus from discounters to get a 50 ml like this, but when you go out to Macy's or somewhere like that and try it, it's much higher in store. I would suggest getting it online from somewhere like maybe in the link below after you try it first and make sure it's for you, because this is one that might be the missing link in your collection or in your fragrance wardrobe. And it's Tom Ford's Ombre leather. A bit more obscure and not as easy to find in store, but if you've ever gotten your nose on Dior Fahrenheit before, now I say this not having tried every version of Fahrenheit to ever come out, but of what I've tried, hands down, Fahrenheit Le Parfum is basically a masterpiece when it comes to designers. It still has the elements of the original, that kind of petroleum violet smell with the leather, that uber masculine, just boss level type of profile is the best thing I can say here. It has a little bit of a licorice and rum type of tone to it. Warm, boozy, rich, a hint of spice. It's just got this thicker consistency to the aroma. The performance here is not obnoxious, but very present, very assertive. It establishes dominance in the airspace. It really does. Over the top type of profile that's kind of subdued in its approach at being over the top. You're following where you're picking up what I'm putting down here. This is a beautiful fragrance that, you know, across the board, I would say is almost the perfect designer fragrance. Obviously, a higher level of versatility is what's keeping it from that. Not a good warm weather profile, but when it comes to events, professional settings, established relationship night outs, you know, not really a first impression, first date type of fragrance by any means, but most certainly when you have an event to go to of some sort and you want that I'm the man type of approach with your fragrance, this is one of those fragrances that you might want to look into. It's Dior's Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Wildly different turnaround from the last two fragrances. We're talking fresh. We're talking one of the best citrus openings of all time. At the recording of this last night when I was gathering these fragrances for this topic, this is what I wore out the shower. It is Terre au Givree. This is one of the best citrus-based openings of all time, in my opinion. I believe it's a citron note. It smells like grapefruit, and I mean bright grapefruit. But I believe it's a citron note. It's got a little bit of zest without being spicy. The woody note here doesn't really make it all that earthy. It adds a slightly drier, woody facet to the fragrance. It's simple. It's straightforward. It just smells freaking amazing, and it performs really well for being so citrus dominant. This is my favorite version of Terre d'Hermès, and it smells the least like the rest of them. It still ties to the DNA. It just doesn't have that high level of earthiness to the vetiver woody accord that's in here, but still get a little bit of it that will definitely remind you of it. And for being a citrus-based fragrance, it performs above 6 hours on my skin, which I think is kind of phenomenal for a, rather synthetic citrus-based fragrance. You should really get your nose on this. This opening is something to behold. It's Terre au Givree. In my opinion, the best designer release of 2023. Nothing topped it for me. This is a more refined, slightly matured take on a classic DNA. You get leather, resins, and spice, a little bit of smokiness. We're talking Viktor and Rolf's Spicebomb Infrared Eau de Parfum. Big fan, great performance. This is such a good release that the most recent release that followed it up, Spicebomb Dark Leather, was kind of a letdown. It doesn't perform even remotely close to the same and doesn't have the depth. It's a more simplistic leather fragrance. Still smells good, but can't hold a candle to this. This is one of the best offerings they've ever come out with, in my opinion. Of all the Spice Bombs currently available on the market at the recording of this is the best of the bunch. This is the one I would strongly suggest. It's not sweet and playful like something like the Extreme for you 20-year-old fellas looking for the younger ladies. For you grown-ass men, that's who I would recommend going after this one. It's not the playful, super sweet, over-the-top designers that most of the market is flooded with. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a ton of those, but stuff like this, it gives those hope that there's still releases that aren't just sweet fragrance bombs, that are looking for stuff more refined, more masculine, more grown up, if you will. This is one that you should definitely try. It's Spicebomb Infrared Eau de Parfum. In and out of stock in different places. I'm not even sure how easy it is to sample it at this point. But when it comes to soapy fragrances and floral fragrances for men, few can compare to the greatness of something like Prada L'homme. Prada L'homme is phenomenal. Nobody does soap like Prada, and you have a soapy lavender neroli iris combo with peppers and woods, and it's just magnificent. Underappreciated for how good of a performer this is. Clean, yet deep. Airy and fresh, yet has staying power. This is perfect for casual and professional settings. This is a slightly more metrosexual type of profile. It's not over-the-top masculine because it does have a dominance of florals, but the way they're done, mixing with a soapy accord instead of just being a flowery smell with different spices and woods, really does this a favor, I think. A light amber tone in the dry down, to where I don't think it's feminine in the slightest because it's so soapy clean. To go with the powdery, flowery type of nuance. This is just iconic at this stage. And if you haven't gotten around to trying it yet, that's why it's in this video. I strongly encourage you, get your nose on this. If you want something a little different, you like soapy fragrances, you want to dip your toe into maybe trying iris out, check out Prada L'homme. Now from that modern metrosexual type of profile to the more classic man's man, fresh out the barbershop type of stuff. To me, the best, and this is just my opinion, but the quintessential barbershop profile, Maison Margiela, Replica at the Barbers. Leathery, spicy aftershave, has that Barbasol and lathered shaving cream type of smell. Like all the elements, all the aromas of the authentic barbershop experience can be found in this fragrance with really good quality. Above average performance, nothing on the weak side, but not some obnoxious, got to scrub it off with a Brillo pad type of longevity and crazy projection. Just refined masculine energy right here. Professional, everyday wear, signature scent worthy type of stuff. Timeless, done right in the modern day, I think is the best way to put it. If you haven't gotten your nose on this, to me, any and every guy that wants to try anything from the Replica line, this is the starting point. Because this is, I don't want to say the safest option, but the most timeless option of what they've put out. And that's Maison Margiela. This is the Replica line at the Barbers. From the timeless style done to perfection to the modern style, in my opinion, done to perfection. We're talking Bleu de Chanel Parfum, warm, rich, woody accords, bright, juicy, yet zesty lemon citrus, resinous type of ambery nuance, smooth and refined while being very synthetic. Interesting how it's able to be loaded with synthetic woody notes, cashmere wood, isoi super, things of that sort, loaded with them, but still be so smooth and rich and warm. This is perfection in a blue fragrance. To me, absolutely is. It's my opinion, but an arguable opinion, one that's worth arguing with people over, even though none of it's worth arguing over. It's just me saying I'm that passionate about the fragrance, basically. Great longevity with a milder, consistent projection in sillage. It's not going to overwhelm anybody. It's a less is more type of profile. Believe it or not, for being warm and wearing a little close to the skin and heavier, it does fine in high heat, humidity. When I got this, I was in the Houston car market outdoors often in the summer, and I would wear this fragrance. Does fine in the heat. Year-round, signature scent, especially in a professional setting. This is the suit and tie blue fragrance, in my opinion. Of course, you don't have to wear it with a suit and tie. You can rock it with a t-shirt, and it's totally fine. This is, again, in my opinion, the most well-rounded blue fragrance ever created. I know a lot of people will say the Eau de Parfum. Not going to argue with you there. I get it. You get a little bit more freshness. It's not quite as warm. You get more citrus out of it. I'm with you. Bleu de Chanel in general, especially when we're talking the EDP and the Parfum. A must-try, in my opinion. Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Now, we talked about a safer iris fragrance. Let's step outside your comfort zone and ramp up the risk with the iris just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's not the most daring fragrance in the world. But when you compare it to something like Prada L'homme, yeah, you're stepping out a little bit more. With Valentino Uomo Intense, here you have that lipsticky, waxy, makeup bag type of iris smell. It's not the soapy type like we talked about with Prada L'homme. This is a more feminine leaning fragrance that reels it back a bit with a heavy dose of nutmeg that gives you this dry spice. You've got a soft, supple leather accord, a sweet vanilla that's not over the top vanilla heavy, because some fragrances just do vanilla too much. This is pretty well balanced overall. It is absolutely phenomenal. I prefer it to something like Dior Homme Intense, which is kind of the namesake for the sweet irises, the sweet designer irises. I think the heightened leather and spice here really does this profile well. Again, similar to Dior Homme Intense, but superior, I think. And the modern formula that they changed to in 2021, I think is even better than it used to be because of that added spice. You know, if you're anybody that's interested in iris, I think it's a must-try at that point. If you're beyond the stages of something like the soapy stuff with Prada L'homme and you want to, maybe take that next step, maybe not quite to the level of the earthy irises and the luxury niche stuff, but as far as designers, I think this is about as good as it gets with the particular style. So I think that makes it a must-try. It's Valentino Uomo Intense. Now here's one that does do the vanilla heavier, but the supporting players here does it right. I just realized I organized these in the perfect order because they're not ranked, but to go from segment to segment, I feel like the flow is just right. Any of you feeling that here? I'm just realizing it in this moment because about the not over-the-top vanilla to an over-the-top vanilla with the right nuance and earthiness from patchouli, smoky frankincense. We're talking Invictus Victory Elixir. I was not a big fan of the original Invictus Victory. It smelled like smoky Invictus, which for those of you that know me, you would think I would love that because I love Invictus and I love frankincense. I like the smoky nuances. I don't know, it just didn't impress me. It grew on me. I do like it. I have a bottle now, but at first I was not impressed. The first time I smelled this, I was impressed. This has a little bit of spicy tones, the patchouli. It's just as much of a patchouli fragrance as it is a vanilla fragrance, and a beautiful supportive smoke engulfing the patchouli and the vanilla with phenomenal performance. This is an extremely enjoyable vanilla-based men's designer fragrance. Some of them just do vanilla wrong. I think here, vanilla's done right. And when I say vanilla wrong, I mean over the top, just boring, basic, vanilla-dominant dry downs. Here, the subtleties of adding the earthy nuance really elevate this profile. That's what I think makes it a must-try. It's Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir. And last but not least, I gave Bleu de Chanel its praise, but let's say you want a little bit more freshness than that. You kind of like the style, but you're like, that's too much woods. It's too warm. It's too laid back and refined. I want a little bit more freshness. I want some aquatic nuances. Well, you're going to want Polo Bleu Parfum from Ralph Lauren. I think it really encapsulates all of the elements of the original that made the original so popular. That watermelon, cucumber, watery aquatic, green elements, all that beautiful, likable freshness mixed with warmer woods, resins, and darker notes to refine the profile. Again, similar to Bleu de Chanel with the way it performs. Less is more type of profile where it's consistent but not over the top and in your face. It's a less is more profile. Again, you can spray it however you want. It's not going to overwhelm anyone except perhaps you if you spray it really heavy. And then really good longevity. Another one in the 8+ hour territory on my skin. I think this is the peak of the Polo Blue profile, and it was definitely worth a mention here. If you only try one Polo Blue, in my opinion, this is the best of the bunch because it really pays homage to the original's DNA and refines it and smooths it out the way I feel a Parfum version should have been. I think they did this one right. It's Ralph Lauren Polo Blue Parfum. Well, that's the 10 that I have for you today. And until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe because I do appreciate all the feedback. I love hearing from you guys. Would you try from the 10 that we discussed here in this video today? Let me know down below. I'll try to have links as best I can to everything. Some of these are a little bit more difficult to find than others, but I'll do my best. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of these 10 and you give them a spray now, you might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.